Do this enough to remember all the names. Okay, welcome to any members of the public that joined us. Apologize for starting a bit late. We had a local board authority meeting prior to this that ran a few minutes late. So now this start of town council work meeting for this evening. As I mentioned in the last local board authority meeting, the mayor is home sick, so I will be chairing the meeting. All other members are here. So I guess I will call meeting to order. And it looks like it's gonna just be discussion. And I did have a very short discussion with the mayor prior to coming in, so I made some quick notes, but who knows if I got all the information. I'm sure Crystal will chime in if she has something that I missed. And the one item that I'm gonna move towards the end is number 3, review of the RFPs for stormwater study in order to award the contract. This is discussion, but it's gonna be the executive evaluation committee. And so I'm gonna request, and I'll get more information at the time we get to request that we go into the closed meeting. Because we're acting on a request for proposals. And I'm gonna move that to the end because I know the public probably doesn't enjoy having to turn off their computer and then try to figure out when to come back on. So hearing no objection, I will move that to the end. Okay, the first item is a resolution concerning an interlocal agreement with Rockville for sharing code enforcement services. And what the mayor mentioned to us is last time we received Rockville's changes, and then he had his changes going back to Rockville, and there were 3 minor changes on this one from the Rockville attorney. And the mayor didn't have those at her fingertips, but there were 3 minor changes. She said they were very minor, so I assume we can look at them and try to figure those out. But is there any discussion? That'll be on for next week's, Tuesday's approval.
Can you mention what the changes were?
I can't because I,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have it too, but I don't know.
See if I can find some. Well, the new one's in here. She
yeah,
put a new one in there yesterday.
and I haven't had a chance to compare.
If we want to do it now, or if we want to wait, I haven't had a chance to compare it either. I brought
It's
it
so
to the
minor
States,
that probably
Okay.
would be my
Yeah.
suggestion.
That's all right, okay, we made.
So, any other discussion on this? May be a
No,
last meeting. I'm very conscious of people's times too here. So, no other discussion.
No, we discussed it earlier, so, I think we're good.
And then the next item is review of the 2025 third quarterly budget amendment. And what the mayor had mentioned, Candace, says that we have 2 items on this one that we have to address on this quarterly budget amendment, which is the third. So I assume the fourth will be the catch-all for everything else. But it's payment of the church, and then the purchase of the vacuum excavator as the 2 budget amendments. And we're very familiar with both of
Yeah.
those, but any questions
Well,
that
so
you
on
have?
on the spreadsheet,
The spreadsheet doesn't match
Doesn't
what
show.
she's saying, yeah.
that the church payment, and then, well, wait. Loan payment on purchase of former LDS church has got 0 and a question mark on the second item. The first item says $171,000. Is that what is that the amount? The amount requested is $171,000. Is that a payment for the year? What is that?
That was our quarterly payment.
Quarterly? Quarterly.
I believe
I thought we paid that every month. I'm looking at it. The number that you're saying was in the, salary portion. What? Right? I'm just looking at the attachment on the third budget amendment. Is that?
I don't see that. Where are you finding that?
So that is on our SharePoint, and it's called, item number 2.
Item 2,
I don't, is it in the meetings folder? Is it in?
Yes, it was in the meeting.
In April?
For work meeting. And we had a list of, let's see, so the first item was final lighting ordinance, the second item was revised draft. Oh, I see why you don't know what item this is. Okay,
it says line item 2, right? That's what you're looking at, Virgin Town third quarter budget amendments. $171,543.64. It's the amount of the requested expense.
so it's the 1, 2, 3, fourth one down, it's
I've
that
got,
guy,
I've got it, thank you.
okay. Yeah, I don't know, you would think that would be the second one, but yeah, okay. So she's saying that that is the amount is quarterly. So if that's quarterly, is that how much we pay quarterly, or is that for the rest of this year until June? Right, it doesn't our budget end at end of June?
And the June.
That was my question, I
Times that by 4, and what do you come up with? $686,000. That would be basically $686,172 would be for the year, so we get a quarter. At the price of the,
I don't know.
Let me pull up my church document.
Oh, I see, the first one's principal, the second one's interest, and that's,
Yeah.
they don't know what that is. Says zero. Question mark.
what we can do, get the answer before Tuesday.
Okay, that's fine. And I also would like an answer on that vacuum excavator, so I see that they say split with roads. And so they have purchase a vacuum excavator for public works, split with roads. So is that 83,000, and then it says amount requested 48,000.
What it's saying is that amount, the 83,000 plus the 48 is what she's asking for, and that 130,000 will be split with the roads department, but I don't see a percentage or whatever that says how it's split with the road department. Cause it looks like it's gonna be from public works, but split with the road department.
How much did that cost? That
That was pretty close, we were.
public, that vacuum excavator, because the first time we approved it, and then the price went up.
Yeah, we got the bigger,
Yeah, we
Right,
decided on.
right.
I think that's right.
we got the
So-
bigger one and all the attachments,
I think so.
the bells and whistles.
So that cost almost $100,000 then?
No, it costs more than that, cause this
One
bottom
third.
part is also in it,
131,000.
plus the
Well,
Plus the
66.
66, yeah.
So $200,000. I
$200,000. No, there's no way.
That much.
There's no way.
It started out at like 38,000.
Those have gotta be different, that's gotta be a different amount, because
I don't know what's going on with this.
I have to go back to my notes and see on that one.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
So we'll have to get some clarification from the mayor or Candace on
both these, all
Yes.
figures.
Cause actually none of them really make sense.
No, not.
And and of course, we want to know the split.
Yes.
Yeah.
Split between-
And why it's-
About in the split, and then what, they should know the income.
Unless this is the split with roads, that's 80,000, and then this is the split with water, is 18,000.
That's what I initially thought.
Right,
too,
so
we
but
should
then
get
if these
clarification.
numbers are way too high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to look at my notes, I
Yeah.
have to go back, and they're at the house. So, on that.
And we have a public hearing scheduled for that, correct? On
Yeah.
Tuesday.
We do, we have to have a public hearing on it in order to approve it.
Yeah,
So that public hearing would be at six.
well, what time did we have? Public
6:30?
hearing?
It's 6.
It's during our regular meeting. We'll close it and do a public hearing.
Right, and is it,
Well, yeah, but
because it's posted for 6, I forgot what.
we said we were gonna start at 5:30 and then end at 6:30.
Yeah, but we can't because it's posted for the public hearing at
Right.
6, it's been posted already.
If we wait to open the public hearing though, then we can have the meeting still start the meeting at 5:30, but we have to wait until the public hearing to do the rest.
Yeah, but we wanted an hour, I thought, to talk.
Well, can we do 45
That's
minutes?
just enough.
Split the difference and do it 5:15? So LJ meetings?
You guys can do 5. if you
Let's
want.
just do 5, and then,
Okay.
I'll
get that this.
I'll just work it out.
or just give us your comments or your thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll do the
5.
5.
Keep it at 6. That's simpler.
You know,
Yeah, I'm still concerned about that one, you know, we're even at 5, but we'll see.
We can't, let it then.
We can't, we're gonna have to, well, what we could do is go up to 5, continue it till the end of the meeting. And finalize any leftover stuff.
If we need to.
If we need to, that would be my suggestion
Okay.
there. That'd be her reading, but that'd be my
It just
suggestion.
depends on the answers that we get
Yeah.
now and then from, because weren't we asking questions of Westland?
Yeah,
Are you guys gonna get all the questions answered in time?
That's why I'm saying it just depends on what they respond.
I thought we were gonna invite Ryan to.
we're gonna, I mean, he's our construction manager,
No, well, he's the West Line guy, he's not
he's not,
Galloway.
he's not Galloway's, who's Galloway's? Who's our,
Todd.
Todd, that's who,
Could we email Todd some of our?
that's who needs to be here, is Todd or the,
Well, Todd's the project manager,
That's
you
what I
were
mean.
paying him, so.
so Todd's the one that should be answering some of our questions. I was calling him Ryan. for-
Well, Ryan is with West.
This was.
Right, with West.
And he's.
So are
the
you
one that
wanting
we're
both of
looking
them
at
to
the
be here
contract,
because
so-
it's Westland's contract and you're wanting, or are you wanting both?
Or our project
I would
managers
think both
have
of
a
them should
contract.
be there.
That's why they want both.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I
you
would-
want Todd and the guy from.
Well, I think we
Westland.
want both of them actually, because, we would be talking about priorities, and I think it would be important for Todd to be here as well.
I
Well,
think it would-
unless Todd can, I guess that, we should open that question to Todd, whether he wants Ryan here or not.
Well, Ryan needs to answer questions about Ryan's particular contract.
Contract.
Yeah, either that or Todd goes back to him and gets the answer.
Isn't that what we have him do though? Isn't that like why we have him as the project manager?
Yeah,
He's the go-between. so we
needs to
have
go between. So when I was saying Ryan should be here, it actually included Todd. And it's up to Todd, as to whether he wants Ryan here or not to answer those questions.
And I didn't hear all of your questions because I was a little late, but
You got
Don't-
90%.
don't you think that we should email those questions to Todd to give him a little time to work,
Yes.
if we can?
Yeah, that would be fine. Good idea. Maybe we'll send our questions to the mayor and she can email her, because she's the contact person.
Yeah.
on all the contracts. We have to do that.
Okay. So anything else on this budget amendment?
Do we need to reopen the land meeting or can we just change the time?
I think we can just do.
You should just change the time, that's fine, it's just. What I'm gonna
I think
post.
it's public posting, it'll just make sure, yeah.
Is we're gonna,
From my understanding on this budget thing is what we currently have in the budget the amount that's being requested is what she's asking to
amend.
amend,
Mhm.
and the final is what we spent.
I
So-
know, so that would make.
so
that,
yes, if you're asking
active
for the-
excavator almost $200,000.
No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, at 131.
no, plus the one below it.
66, 270,
Oh,
I don't.
Or the two below it are also the excavator. And that's what the question is that the split? So is it 131,000 with roads and 66 with, water? And then that's $200,000. None of us recall that
Absolutely
that machine
not.
was supposed to cost $200,000.
No, absolutely not.
Cause we picked a machine and I do not remember it
well, we
costing
were,
that much.
I thought the 131 was the top end, and then there was one that was about 70 or 80, I think.
So I see what's happened. So we said what we wanted, but the receipt, did we leave it open-ended and let them choose on their own, or did they choose this one? And we had said another. I need that answered.
But yeah, my recollection is we ended up approving one and then they came
So
back
we picked the
wanting a
mid-round, and
larger,
I'll pick the first one.
they wanted a larger one and some of the bells and whistles.
And we still picked the middle ground. We never
And
picked.
so we picked the
wasn't
middle
it the,
ground.
supposed to be the one that they brought out?
No, well, that one had been sold, but it was
Simple.
similar.
Like the one that they brought out.
Right. And that's not, I think we ended up with the Vector or whatever, we didn't. What is the brand when we ended up with? Do you know?
I don't know.
Or is it?
I think it's called worse. It's gotta be big, so it's gotta be under the,
I'll try buying one on the way home.
But
that big.
I think we would
I
have
don't know
remembered
what
$200,000.
Well, none of us did, because I remember we didn't want the high-end one.
No, we didn't.
We all had a discussion about not going low-end. And then we had some chime-ins from other public works and stuff, and we ended up picking not the, because it was the ditch witch that was the most expensive, wasn't it?
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
didn't.
didn't even go with them.
Now I have to get my notes out. But that is not how much we approved, because I know that's a lot.
So we'll have to figure out what we want.
No, I have to go back in my file and look at home.
Yeah, well, October would tell us what that original price is, but I don't think it would tell us what we agreed
No,
to.
we had an email or something.
Yeah, I mean, then it was, the mayor calling each of us.
Okay, well, we'll have to get that, question answered on that.
Or any other budget, budget issues? Okay, the next one is review of the RFP for the POS plan.
We're gonna put that at the bottom, I thought, right?
No, that's wrong.
Oh, that's it,
Yeah.
oh,
And it says POS.
I see, okay.
It could be POS with recreation, that's the way it's worded in the RFP. I don't know if you had chance to look at it, but I had sent it off also to, Rod Mills to review, and Rod then sent me his comments. And I posted those comments, I just got them right before the meeting, and so his comments, and he had some good comments, that I put up on SharePoint. What I'm gonna do between now and next meeting is call him, and because there are some things I want some clarification on as to what he's asking. I also sent it to Lee Ballard, who said she was gonna look at it from the planning and zoning. And so this RFP is to get our cross plan, which is parks, recreation, open space and trails plan. And I modeled it after the plan for Moab. So if you were looking at what did I use as the basis was Moab's plan. It was closest one, it was the Utah plan, and I don't remember what year that was, but, that's what it was based on, with some modifications to fit Virgin. And they did not get it approved by planning and zoning. I think it should go through planning and zoning. And so when I structured it, that's what I said, that the approval process would be a recommendation from, planning and zoning and a public hearing of planning and zoning, and then a recommendation to us. So I thought planning and zoning should have their input on it. So I sent it to Lee to give me her comments. And of course, with the meeting last night, she's probably not gonna get it to me till later this week. I also sent it to Darlene, with all that's going on with Darlene. I'm not sure if I'll take comments or not.
Right.
So we have two colored, pens on the comments, one's red and one's,
For Rod, I have no idea.
okay.
Uh,
Did he do, oh, I can't tell about the handwriting, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, and what I'll do is, I gotta get to that. Where's that on my-
So one comment I had, and I didn't put it on, we had, so I wonder, we didn't specifically talk about open space, and it's got specific tasks. See that, and then we go down to,
It's kind of just broad,
it is,
yeah.
but we're talking about specifically like the town. Okay, inventory conditions report and future design. Town of Virgin has a BMX track and 4 parks. Heritage Town Square, Virgin Town Park. What's Virgin Town Park?
That's right here. Or
That's
there.
our actual.
So
That's our-
we're not addressing, Pocketville.
Yeah, didn't I put Pocketville Hall?
No, we didn't.
Okay, not,
So I
that's,
was wondering if we could put that under open space because we're not considered that.
Because
oh,
technically it's a flood mitigation area.
Right. Or open,
Open space, yeah.
I don't know if you want to put parentheses open space or just Pocketville Hollow.
I'll put Pocketville Hall and I'll put parental open space, parents.
That's probably better.
And then I'll make that one change so we know.
Perfect clarification. Then we don't.
I wouldn't mind seeing the flood mitigation, added to that language as well.
What?
Flood mitigation language added to that as well. That was the intent of that, gift.
Oh, I see now.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Open space for flood mitigation.
Correct,
correct.
That's going, trying to figure out what the,
What is she saying?
okay, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no,
So
that.
then we
that
might
makes
need to
sense.
so you've got kind of a list under the parks listed. And then we might want to, I don't know, so it says that will include the following: park or facility type of, I guess, open space or facility, that would be the facility type then? Or just acreage? Or should we say something
Let me
additionally
get you-
about open space?
let me find it on,
It's task 2, it's on page,
yeah, I'm in the local
Page 3.
building authority, I gotta,
oh, okay.
I gotta get to the right SharePoint.
Okay,
I'm listening to my SharePoint a minute ago.
You can have two windows open at the same time.
I know, but it somehow defaulted me in Virgin Town SharePoint. There it is, and I get out of that, and I should be able to get to, there's the SharePoint. Okay. What paragraph?
okay, so under the task 2, where we're going to add, I don't know what I said, so he's got a note, I'm looking at his comments.
Oh,
He
yeah.
underlined Virgin Town Park, and it says, how do we handle the nomenclature? And I'm not sure if he was thinking that was Pocketville.
Yeah, I don't know, I saw that too, and that's one of the things I want to talk to him on.
Okay, so then underneath that where it says, will include the following, and we've got park or facility type and purpose. So if we're going to add an open space item in there, do we need to say something about that particular? Or is this broad enough that they will not just treat it like a park, I guess is my point.
What I would change that to is say 3 spot parks, and then I'll also have, like I did with the BMX park,
Okay,
and all the separate language for Parkerville Hollow.
right,
Uh,
so all these include the following would cover that, then?
Yeah,
Okay,
and that's part of their task, I would assume, is to come in and look at all of it and make recommendations to us, saying, here's your current existing parks, open space. We suggest the following changes and uses. So that's what I hope they would do. They gotta go in and do that.
oh yeah, because it says 4 parks and then you only have 3, but.
Yeah, so,
Okay, oh, got it.
yeah, I was trying to do that and some probably got interrupted somewhere making that change.
And a lot of process.
Okay,
So I'll revise that and get that out. If you have any other comments and thoughts in reading through that, let me know.
so do we want to call it parks, recreation, open space and trails? Are we addressing recreation?
Yeah. The recreation, one of the tasks is to determine, what resources we need to create a recreation department in the future.
Oh, I see, okay.
And I know the mayor, when she keeps, when we're talking about the new city hall,
Right,
she's always talking about recreation.
right,
And we really don't have a formal recreation department.
right,
So I added that to say, that's coming.
right.
It should be coming, because we have the baseball field, we
The
have,
gym.
we have the gym, we have the pickleball. We should have somebody managing some type of recreation for our citizens, especially at pickleball.
Right now, that comes under public works.
Comes under public
Right,
works.
yeah.
And in a lot of communities, it's usually under parks,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of them are separate altogether.
Mhm.
So that's what I put recreation in, is to let them, let the consultants decide. The other thing I did too is, since we do have the Scion Corridor Trail coming through, I made a note for them because there's always been an issue among our citizens as to where that should go, what side of the street. So I wanted them to address that in their recommendation to us, along with whether we need other trails to connect up to that.
Mhm.
And because maybe there's a walking trail from conservation area and from BLM and land in, that we can start creating a trails program in the town. And I know the mayor's talked about a trail going across the river to Rio Tacion, so all that's up for discussion.
We need a crossing bridge for pedestrians. Someone. Honestly. I mean, people can't get across that,
Right, whether it goes over or under.
whatever.
And then the other thing Ron had mentioned was right at the beginning, the first task is that he thought we should specify the number of public engagements.
I thought that would be good.
I thought that was a good comment. And I thought it was interesting that Moab didn't do that. Moab said, you tell us what we need. And instead, Rod is saying, and I think that's probably a better way, here's the minimum public engagement. If you think we need more, let us know. I'll make that change too.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the cost plan? Preparation for fiscal year 2025-2026 budget, that will have to wait till the mayor talks to us next week. I don't have any.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in there.
Yeah.
No. Then other items from the planning commission. That was, we did zone change, correct, for the, and that's what he gave us a rough, and I haven't looked at his email. And, but I know Darlene had a question when, as to whether we needed to also do a public hearing on reverting back the zone change across from Desert
Did
Gardens.
he email all of us?
It's in SharePoint.
It's in SharePoint. I put it in our work folder.
Okay, so I like his.
Yeah, the zone change last night was there was only 3 on the forum, and it was a 2-to-1 vote.
Okay. Who was against?
Larry was against.
Okay. Do we know why? Did he say why?
There's a couple of reasons. He would like to buy the property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it needed a value.
Yeah,
trade.
even a value trade as far as, that we think that the town could get more money
That's all right, that's valid.
than trading.
Yeah, I thought that was in-
Another reason is, we've already put so much work and effort into doing what we were already doing in one spot. Now we're taking away and trading, and it's not an even value, and
Well, but we're
town
getting,
could get money for it, and
we're getting.
that kind of
we're
thing, when
getting-
we were already zoning one property, and if we're gonna sell it and trade it or zone it, why don't we do that?
Someone
and
made a
get money?
valid point that it was donated property for the purpose of the fire station,
Mhm.
so I think that part.
Also, a bit.
But my understanding is the fire station would fit there. And we're
Correct.
getting 1.7 acres in exchange for 1.1
Right,
acre, so.
right.
It's more of an opportunity missed conversation.
Plus it eliminates, some of the conflicts in across from Desert Gardens.
Definitely. Definitely.
So, the only thing is,
He was not appeased by that, he didn't see why we were catering to that, like,
yeah.
but those are just his own opinions, that's why he voted against it.
Yeah. I don't know if this will be on next week or not, because I think we need, at least my view is, I don't know what the mayor's view, and I know the mayor wants to get this up and going fast for the approval. But my concern is, I would want to see the agreement in place and voted on the same night we do the resolution for approving the zone change. Because I don't want to approve the zone change until we have the agreement for the swap.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I'd be good if we have it all next week. but
And there were some
yeah,
things that before, Michelle has came in and wanted some things on the town's part, like because there's a big ditch on her property. She wanted a geotechnical survey done. To see if it's even buildable because of that big ditch that's been filled in.
Yeah.
The wash has been filled in.
Right.
That's one of her main concerns is, can she build on it? So she wanted a geotech survey done. To make sure that it is buildable on it, you know what I mean?
Was that
Like
question
now.
last time?
Huh?
Was
These
that,
are just concerns that her attorney has brought up
oh, previously,
just recently. Because, she's buying a piece of land, it does have a big wash in it, the wash has been filled in, but now is that wash, can you build on it, so, yeah, you're gonna.
She's doing her due
She's doing her due
diligence. She needs to
diligence,
do it.
correct, for sure.
That's smart.
So there's a couple of things, and she's meeting with Shy and, is he meeting?
We asked Rod to attend to handle some engineering questions that are just outside of our expertise, and then Garani will be there too. Just to make sure that that if it goes forward, that she's set up for success to apply for whatever she's applying for.
sure,
She just wants to make sure that she can build and, it's a buildable lot on there because of that big ditch that's been
Right.
filled in and stuff
If
like
she's
that.
gonna concede to a change, she can help us and.
So-
and
I mean, I don't think everything's gonna be done in stone come Tuesday, there's no way that everything's gonna
so
be
I
done.
doubt if we're gonna be deciding this for next Tuesday.
Right.
So is she expecting the town to pay for the geotechnical?
Well, typically, when you buy homes and stuff, there's usually a geotechnical stuff
These are
done.
just standard steps.
It's
that-
standard steps that usually with people buy lots, you buy a lot, there's been a geotech survey on it to make sure that it's been buildable, so you could build your home on it.
So that's why I would wanted to have an appraisal, on both properties to see what kind of value it is to the town. And then, he said, well, it was donated, so.
I mean, most lots though, like,
I mean, I think that would make the citizens of the town feel better about it.
Yeah.
If we knew what the values were.
I mean, most lots are buildable, here in Virgin, we've never really had an issue running into that, but because of that big wash, that's what brings such a big concern though, you know?
Well,
And I
it's an
get it.
expense, if she
And
has to
she-
mitigate that.
Yeah, she had to redig it out and
Yeah,
And we haven't had rain in a long time, who knows what that
yeah,
is gonna happen, you know?
yeah, so, I mean, these are just engineering questions, I think. That Rod was gonna ask her, or she's gonna sit down with Rod and ask, and that her attorney has brought up for sure, so. I think,
So it's not gonna happen next week.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I think she wants to have it happen sooner, if later, for sure. I don't think it wants to be drawn out until July, but, within a month or so, I'm assuming that all can be done. How long is their
Probably could get it done by
A
May.
geotech survey currently right now, if she were to submit tomorrow, as quick as 2 weeks, if she stays on top of their point of contact, as long as 2 months, if you're not staying in contact with their point of contact.
So at least maybe the next time we'll consider it's May.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's some things that the town probably has to do due diligence on, and she's doing her due diligence on as well, I mean, vice versa.
Was there any other thing that passed planning that's coming this way this week? Besides the lighting ordinance?
Well, the line ordinance already came down the pipe, as far as,
No, so nothing for next week's agenda.
yeah, well, that's already came down, the
Yeah.
line ordinance, and that's waiting on you guys to pass, if you guys choose to pass that.
Yeah, we'll discuss that in a minute.
And then they did pass last night. They passed the, code. It's the amending the titles of Virgin Municipal Land Use Code Title 16, Chapter 16 of Section 16.28 to allow in conclusion of standards of permitted uses.
Just adding the word standards.
Oh, okay.
So,
We may see a minor.
so they
Yeah.
did pass that, and I don't know if June's gonna put that on or not, or what's going on, but they did pass that.
Okay. Next item is the lighting ordinance. We've had it before us. Couple things out before I open up to questions that I'll mention about it. Is we put it in and Darlene put it in and I added the dates to it, so. And Darlene is trying to figure out, one of her comments was, how do we do this now that it's in chapter 16? I made that change on the ordinance, so we're no longer amending foods. We're now amending the town code, title 16. So I made that change through the ordinance, so all the changes to title 16, and then the particular chapters or sections in title 16, and 16 is our land use provision. The lighting dates are, it's set up, the minute it passes, that's when everything starts to kick in, is off that date, so that if everything becomes a non-conforming use the next day, that isn't conforming. Then there is a 1 year. There's a 1 year period before the amortization period starts. And that 1 year period is for us to do our inventory. And I assume that would probably be Matt, but I haven't talked to the mayor about that.
I think that's what was said prior.
Okay, and then there is, after that 1 year period, then there's
7,
7 years, 7 year amortization period, so it's actually 8 years from the warranty has for amortization. Darlene mentioned that she's gonna be bringing back separate from this ordinance, different possible mitigations. Just to
yes,
just so the public understands that you don't have to replace the whole structure. Yeah, mitigation could be as simple as changing the light bulb out,
right,
or recessing in the light, or, minor hoods, so on. So she's gonna come back with some mitigation,
suggestions.
suggestions. And then I haven't met with Becky, but I'll do that if this passes, to talk about, the program I want us to consider, which is, putting money away each year in the budget. That will become, no interest loan, for those that have to mitigate and go to that expense. And so I want to make sure in that resolution that I have an agreement form approved by Keith and the terms and everything in there, so there's no question about what that looks like. So that will take a little while to get done, but I don't want to do like we did on the sewer, which was, we say we're gonna put money in the budget and we never do, or it kind of gets left to the side. So I want to make sure we come back with the resolution for us to consider.
Okay.
So any questions, other discussion on the lighting ordinance?
So you said that this lighting ordinance in here,
And I do have one legal question. I'll mention that after I get to your questions, and I'll pass it on to Eve.
okay, we've got it set up in 50,
You go.
the code.
Yeah.
50?
It's Title 16, but it is Chapter 15.
Chapter 50.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the definitions are still in, Chapter 2. Or, yeah, Chapter 2.
okay.
I don't like the change. I love the idea of the night skies, but I do not like the change that is going to dump onto our residents to fix their lighting. You said loan, not assistance, not giving. And so I really hate that this is something that our residents are gonna have to come up with their own money to fix it. We do have residents, and I know it's not the majority, we do have residents that are on, elderly and on fixed incomes, that even recessing the light is too much.
And I'm sensitive to that, and what I'm hoping is that we come up with for those that have income issues, that we come up with a grant to do that.
Well, I would like to see it before we pass it, because that was the biggest problem that I had with this ordinance, and I said it before, so I won't go way into it, but the biggest problem I have with this is that it's pushing another thing onto our residents, and we already had to push sewer. We already have to, you know, we went into the water conservatory district, and that's pushing it on our residents. The cost is coming back on our residents, and this is one thing that we don't have to do, but it's gonna push back on our residents. The bottom line is, every time we make an ordinance that, I love the idea of the night skies, but we need assistance for people who cannot afford to do it. A lot of us can just go out and replace the light, but many cannot. And that's not fair to them to say, here, you go replace a light that you paid $50 for a little while ago, and now you're gonna have to pay $300 to get it recessed. You know, unless you have grandchildren that build houses.
We don't know that yet because of when inventory, it, like Paul said, it might just be changing a light.
Well, just trying to remember, though, I mean,
Yeah, no.
there's so many.
Oh, I know.
Like, I can tell you right now, I'm already changing them, and it has nothing to do with this ordinance. I have 2 on my house. And I'm gonna change them because of, I don't like them, they're too bright, but they are what they are right now. But if I was the elderly person in this room, I wouldn't be able to afford to recess those lights or replace them.
I would support,
I mean, I have children that can build it, but that doesn't mean,
right, I would support us creating a grant program, that will provide assistance to certain income levels.
agreed.
And when we would have have to make that determination of what that was and how much that grant would be. But I would be strong supporter of that.
I would as well, but Misty saying, if I'm hearing, you'd like to see that.
Yeah, because you
before
put this,
it's
you
even-
put this in and
At the
then,
same time.
And I
then
prefer
we,
to do it out.
then we do our sewer thing
Yeah.
and we don't do it. And the next thing you know, poor Joe Blow, who's on a fixed income, can't do it. And then they're getting a ticket from our guy, which shouldn't be right, but getting a ticket from our guy because he's not in compliance with an ordinance that we did not have to put in place.
Yeah, the history of most amortization periods is that, and I think we saw that in Springdale, and some, maybe Val can talk to a little more with being here longer than I have. But a lot of times you implement those and then those get delayed.
They might, but to me, I love it, cause I mean, I live down where there's not any lights, I'm kind of spoiled, I just walk out my porch and there it is. And, but honestly, it's not, I feel like pushing it onto our residents, that is gonna make a huge problem.
Would you be willing to work with me as making that a kind of a dual program, for, the loan and then a grant as part of the resolution?
Yeah, I mean,
And
we could try to figure it out, I mean, we could add wording in here that says something about assistance with a grant, not a loan, cause like a loan to me, they're still paying for it. A grant or assistance from us is, I mean, we're putting this in and forcing it upon them, and we don't have to.
yeah, so,
It's a dream we all love and want that we're bringing to fruition, but it's not
so,
feasible for all of our residents.
so if this passes, I'm making a commitment to create that program. And if you're willing to work with me, maybe we'll come up with the program together.
I'm just so hesitant, I'm not saying you, I've just seen it in the past, I'm just so hesitant to say, go for it. I know you guys are all for it, so I know it's gonna go ahead and pass, but I just feel like it's something that we should have done, we should do before we put this into place. I feel like our residents are that important, especially even our lower income ones that have been here for years, that are on a retirement program, or bless their hearts, even now, kids that are living in our community that can't afford to put the lights on because they're trying to pay for their housing. You know, it's not.
Yeah, no, I hear
These are the
you.
things that run through my head when I think about everybody having to comply with this.
Yeah,
Because my house, it just requires taking down some lights. You know,
and I always think of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, in the sense
right?
that we haven't approved the ordinance. So how do you create the program? You're saying you want to create it before.
Because
you
I'm
approve
thinking
it.
about these poor, what happens, not poor like as in poor, I mean, as in, it's sad that we put something on our residents. I don't care who the resident is. You, me, whatever, we're putting this on them without something in place before or going at the same time to help them come up with that funding.
Okay.
Because it's a big deal to me, because there's my houses don't
Well,
just
on
have
a
one.
side
light.
note, we got 2 lighting complaints today in the office, so,
You got it.
2 lighting complaints today in the office, so.
Too much.
2 lighting complaints.
They're complaining
Oh,
about,
yeah.
but they were complaining about a fear of what could be and not necessarily what currently is, was one of the complaints.
Like what?
No, the 2 complaints were about 2 different lights.
Problems with lights.
Oh, wait, you were, I have one too.
So that was. So, okay, so you have a different, you let me think. I was like, so we've had several complaints about lighting stuff, but no, the complaints I got were 2 different lighting complaints about lights in town.
I probably know what one is.
So,
question,
I
why
want
do
you
you
to
bring
know,
that
you'd
up?
be surprised.
Question though, when you bring that up, what's your angle with it?
Like, how do we mitigate, or how do we mitigate it?
Like, are you saying that we need to hurry and do this because we're gonna get complaints already?
Well,
or-
no, I'm just saying, like, a lot of this town really cares about the night sky, and
Right.
so, and then there's also a lot of people that are not so, they just, you know, they like their lights, and I get that too as well in this town. And I think when the whole, grant program, I think that's great, but I also see it as you're gonna force me to change the lights, so just pay more. What's gonna prevent that?
That's what I'm saying is that, well, he was saying an income or
Income
a
base.
certain base or whatever, but they're not gonna wanna come and tell us their incomes. But the other thing is,
But there's
it's a
people that
safety-
make great money that still struggle. So what's gonna define that?
I will say, I would like, for me personally, with my work and daily, interaction with builders, I would like it to pass as soon as possible, because I can't enforce anything that's not current.
Right,
So when I'm currently working on, I am trying to delay certain things, as much as I possibly can, but it's getting to the point where I can't, based off of state law.
but it's,
Yeah, and
I understand, and everybody, like you said, there's a line for
Yeah.
some people don't care, some people care. I love the dark sky.
Right.
Sharon,
Right.
we live right there, it's there, but the problem that I am having is that we are taking something. The first is the safety, but I won't get into that, that was a discussion we had a long time ago. But the second is that we're dumping this on our residents.
But I'm just saying also income based, when you go income based. You know, there's people that make great money in our town that are fine if you're to go based off of income based, but they also struggle due to other reasons. Medically or something else, even though they make great money, but they're struggling on because of some other reason. On their life,
there's
does
different,
that make sense?
there's different ways you
So,
can
yeah,
structure.
there's a lot of
You can
different.
structure a
things,
program that
yeah.
would cover
So
those.
there's a lot of different things, I mean,
Cause one
just
might,
because I know, I don't follow the water bill, so I know.
yeah, but one might be as simple as they need to have a metal shield put on it. Like, I remember a long time ago, remember the lights that were, oh, it was, April would know and so would you. Back by Steve Maysfield's house, how that,
Runway?
she had the lights, the cute lights, and he goes, well, I'll just build you metal shields, and they only needed to be this big. I'll build you metal shields to go over the top of them that are artistic,
I
to
don't think
go
he
over
ever
the
did.
top. No, and I don't think they ever finished it, because it didn't
Right.
need to happen, but that's one I'm bringing up of an incident where it could be as simple as, oh, hey, my neighbor's gonna bring me some metal shields to put on top. No expense whatsoever, didn't cost me anything. Two, I have to now go in and cut out 2 lights on each side of my house and recess them in and put them into the eaves.
Oh, I don't, well,
You see what I'm
just
saying?
change the light bulb.
Well, it could be that easy, but if my light still, you think about a house on a corner, if one light goes out and goes into the street, by this ordinance, it's not supposed to leave my property line.
I would think, do you think maybe while this moves forward and you guys, the two of you can, could be find solutions for it? And then while each complaint comes in, it's just a matter of case by case. Is there a way to?
I think that's the crux of the issue,
Right.
is that I would like to see something in place, but I'd like the ordinance to be passed to force us to get it in place. And if I'm hearing Misty correctly, she prefers to have that in place before she agrees to it. So,
But and I know I'm the minority vote, I'm just trying to think of how it would feel to be that person and being stressed out enough as it is, and then having to shut off my light and not being able to turn it on, and then trying to walk from my car to my house, and I can't see because I'm elderly.
So if we have 7
Or-
years before they get the
8.
line, 8 years basically, then the town could probably we would be able to help.
But who says the next administration is going to be as resident conscious, is going to be, that's gonna be the least of their problems. You know what I mean?
that's always the danger with these programs, is future administrations could change it. They
Right,
could eliminate the amortization
Absolutely.
period.
right.
Uh,
They could be like, nope, everybody in order.
that's all
And then
part of
we've
the
got,
process.
they were financially burdening our town.
And so what we put in place today doesn't mean it will be the same as 8 years from now.
Right. Well, even, I mean, what is November, or we start elections?
Yeah.
So I mean, even it could be even 6 months from now, somebody
Could be
come in
even
and be
6
like, oh,
months
we
from
like this ordinance, but bye-bye amortizations, get a day, or we hate this ordinance, it's gone anyway, but
That's part
that's
of our.
the strategy to take, that's why I'm saying, I would like to see it before we do it, because I feel like financially burdening our residents is one of our biggest, should be one of our most important thought processes before we think about how, I love the lights and that everybody does, but I feel like that's financial stability of our residents is more important than putting in a lighting ordinance.
I don't think we're going to solve that issue, but.
I don't
you
think so
did-
either, but I'm voicing my opinion.
But your opinion did raise something that I want to think about and work
If
with
we
you
can,
on.
even if this passes, yes, I will still help, I would still like to work with you on it, or even look around and see if we can find one. Which if we call Springdale or like Cancer, maybe we know places that we can call and talk to about grants
Yeah.
and helping people. So,
And, at the risk of opening a can of worms, I don't see anything in this ordinance that addresses temporary out of compliance lighting situations.
oh, yeah.
Okay, so I know one, when I was on planning and zoning with Matt Spenlove years ago, we attempted to do something with the lighting ordinance, and he had a problem because sometimes he had to offload cattle at the wee hours, and it was a dangerous situation for him to not have lighting. I know I was woken up again at 3 o'clock in the morning when White Bison was pouring concrete at the new gas station. We're used to it now, but, but that's an issue, it's a nuisance, and
So-
it's
so
not
what
just
you-
me, it's.
I think I hear what you're saying.
Wasn't there a red light scenario for things like that?
I think so, that's what I was looking.
A what
at.
light?
Red.
What does that mean?
They don't use a red, they don't use a red, is it if a Q light?
Usually you do it on a red light.
And that would
They don't, they didn't, summers ago when they were
I don't even know if that would work for cattle.
3 months in a row, every night.
I've gathered cattle, and
No one's ever done it with red light?
I've never seen one do the red light, and I would hate to do that with a red light. It's dangerous as it
But,
is, I
but
don't.
here's what, and maybe we need to think about it. Exemptions are temporary emergency lighting in use by law enforcement or government agency or at their direction. So,
What's the definition of temporary? Right, because that would be my answer to your question, what is their definition? What have we defined temporary as? Temporary lighting as? Is it the fact that we have twinkle lights strung that only come on?
Well, I think holiday
When my
lights would
kids are
be a
having a-
temporary situation.
Yeah, like when my kids are having a hot cocoa party outside and they're strung lights, and I just plug them in, and
Right,
then I unplug them,
right.
right?
the way we used to say is 7 days to 180 days, but we're deleting that section.
So what is the temporary see in them?
I
I didn't see it.
I don't see it.
no, we
So I
don't
was
have a
looking for it
definition
earlier.
for.
So I went in and I even looked in the town, when this is, maybe I missed it, I didn't see it in our definitions when we look in our code. I didn't see it there either. So
So,
I would like to see a definition of temporary lighting, if, I think that might answer your.
and so what I'm gonna suggest, and you may not like it because it is that we proceed with this lighting ordinance, but we send that issue back to the planning commission and look at it and bring a recommendation back to us.
For amendment.
Well, and it can work, because it's not addressed now, so it wouldn't be addressed until we address it.
Right.
So it's still, they could still do temporary lighting. But there
No.
will be constraints on it, because it says it's an exception. In here, temporary lighting,
If-
it's not
if-
defined.
If at the direction of government agency, used by law enforcement and direction of government agencies. So in other words, if,
The town could.
if you have a livestock commission saying you have to have so much lighting when you do this, then that would be at the direction of a
But if-
government agency.
But that's not clear, what if that's not clearly written down? I have to look at their bylaws, but I mean, it's.
Then it probably isn't, but as it becomes a matter of enforcement of saying, wait a minute, you know,
Cause it's a safety hazard.
it's a safety hazard, Matt will probably go look
I
at
mean,
it.
they don't necessarily need to pour concrete at 3 a.m.
I don't know why they
But-
have to pour concrete.
No, I understand why they would
3 p.m.
pour,
or
it
5
depends.
p.m.
If it's dead summer, they do it really, really early because of that, but
It's not
it's
true.
spring right now, why would they
Not
do it
true
now?
anymore. There's additives for
Really?
concrete. Yes, there's retardants that you can
Yeah.
put in for
So why are they
accelerators.
doing it at 3 a.m.? I thought our construction laws didn't allow that, and your
They
construction laws
don't,
don't
so
allow
then when
that.
you call them, they say, well, I'm just gonna work.
They did it for 3 months in a row. It was a great summer.
That's a problem.
You can't fix
No, I know.
everyone unfortunately, but I don't have a problem with that because they can still put their temporary light up until we finish the ordinance, but I still don't. My first issue is still down, but I don't wanna review it because we already talked about it, but.
But the
And
one,
maybe that has to be addressed in a construction ordinance.
Right, maybe it does. Maybe
Rather
we
than
can make that work
rather
better.
than-
yeah, part of
Yeah.
that construction
We
ordinance.
can make it a
especially-
construction lighting ordinance. We could look and see what everybody else can do as well.
And construction hours, you know,
The
machinery.
county already has ordinances for that.
Right.
So, when I was having that.
Springdale does too as
I
well.
called them on that, but they said, we're gonna pour in.
You can,
The one other issue that I see with the current ordinance, and I'm gonna address it to Heath, is, and I'll just send him an email so he's aware of it, is with our flags. And when I drafted this ordinance, I was asked by Kent to do that. I was following either Springdale's or one of the other towns with respect to the flags.
You're talking about lighting a flag?
Lighting of
Okay.
flags, and here's the issue I have with it, is we limit the lighting of flags, provided it is a US flag or and a second flag that's a member of some of the armed services like Marines, Air Force, so on. So I think that's a First Amendment violation. And so I'll ask Heath about it. I think you can limit the number of flags. I don't think you can dictate what's up there. For example, somebody could probably fly a Trump flag and as much as I abhor Trump flags, only, not because of Trump, but because it's paying homage to an individual and rather than our country. I still support the right for them to do that. It's the same thing in the Olympics, we didn't have the flag before Hitler, because that was an individual, you don't do that. But I don't like those flags, but if somebody wanted to fly it, that's their First Amendment right to do so. So that was the one thing that I have a concern about on that. I hate to raise it,
So
but
they said you could have them, but they're the only ones that could be illuminated. So they can still have flags,
they,
any flag.
you can have flags, but when you light it, you can only have the US flag, yeah.
So.
And that would be a violation of First
Oh,
Amendment.
because you can't.
That's a content. That's it. That's a decision based on content rather than number, size and number.
Mm.
You're doing the content as to the type of flag.
Well, a state of Utah flag is included in this.
Right, state
as well.
Yeah, and I
but
think.
he's saying that we can't limit what the flag is, right?
Right,
It doesn't matter if it's a pirate flag, we
yeah,
can't limit.
pirate flag or Trump flag or,
Yeah,
or rainbow
You
flag.
can fly them, you just can't illuminate them. Is that a violation?
I can't what?
Illuminate them.
well, that makes
It
sense.
says only the flag. of the United
You're still
States
content based.
Or
You're-
may be illuminated.
Yeah, you're talking about what can be illuminated and what can't. So you can't illuminate a non-US flag or state flag.
How is the
And
rule
you
that,
think that's
I think that's the first, I'm gonna ask Steve, but I think it's a First Amendment violation. Because
how's
it's
the,
content based.
how's the rule written? Because I know you're supposed to illuminate them if they're so far off the ground and they sit up overnight. Is it federal? How is it
That's
worded?
the US Constitution.
So we have to word it similar to that, because they talk about that you can't hang an American flag without lighting it.
I thought that flags were supposed to be taken down, Pat.
I thought.
Unless you eliminate it.
Unless you,
Oh, okay.
that's what I'm talking about, is because if
That's
it's
the
lit
federal
up,
statute.
then,
Okay,
like at the bottom of a
That's
lot
the
of
way they put that in
flagpoles,
there.
there's these little lights,
right,
and they just shine up
right,
only at the flag at night,
right.
then you don't have to take them up now. You're
So,
supposed to take
Got
them up in bad weather.
so if you eliminate the second flag, you only limit it to elimination of US flag, you may be all right, but I'm still not convinced.
That's why I'm
Question
wondering
three.
what that says on the, what that law says, and we
Oh,
should.
it's a
do it
US code.
We should do it similar to it.
I still think you,
It would
I
eliminate
think
that.
you still, no, I don't think you do, because you're allowing the, elimination of the US flag, but you're not allowing elimination of other flags, which is content-based.
So does that come under the sign ordinance? Other flags?
It's under our lighting ordinance.
Well, eliminate.
So you're
Elimination.
right, you're right, we need to have.
So what we have is a content-based elimination of flags. That's my concern, and I knew it when I was writing it,
Right.
talking it off Springdale.
Right.
And I think there's an issue there, but maybe Heath will disagree.
Okay, we'll ask him.
I will
Yeah.
send him.
We can move that for discussion after you ask him.
I just want to let you know that I'm going to ask it.
It's a good question.
Ahead of time. Any other discussion on the lighting ordinance?
So I know that the mayor put in a lighting ordinance with comments, and I didn't see it until
I did not see,
that item 6B.
I did not
That's
see.
the
The only comments I see on that is almost like housekeeping. Darlene's
Minor.
notes.
But I haven't had a chance to look at those, so just,
Are they Darlene's comments, or are they?
it says,
DP 1234 is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I see those. They look like minor.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
was
it's
reading
grammatically
that.
correct, striking outdoor lighting, certain.
Well, that was Darlene's.
Right.
And if those were already in the final ordinance, those were already.
Those were just her
Right.
comments.
So I already did that.
You put those in there.
okay,
Yeah, I did.
I didn't see those. Anyway.
All right. Next item, we're coming to review of the RFP for stormwater study in order to award the contract. And I'm gonna suggest that we go into an executive session. And I would request a motion for that. And it would be based on a couple of things. One, it would be based on 52-4-205, parens 1, parens A, since we're talking about consultants, and there might be, and one of the evaluation is their competence, in the sense that we're rating them. And the second is, I think it would fall under 63, well, also 52-4-205, 1O, parens, which is dealing with evaluation of procurement system. And then there's also a separate one, 63G-6A-707, parens 9, parens. I'm not sure about whether that's applicable, but that specifically says if you're doing an evaluation on RFP, you may go into a private or a closed meeting, provided you follow the closed meeting rules. The reason I'm not sure if that's applicable or not, because it exempts out engineering RFPs. But I think we got it covered with A.
I think you have it covered with the first two.
Can you read me the prints on that first one?
52-4-205, 1, parens A, parens, and the next one is the.
I got that one, I just need the
And
prints
then
on that one.
parens, all parens.
It's all prints, right? 2
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Would you like to,
I will move, that we close the public meeting and open a closed meeting.
To discuss the evaluation.
Of the RFP for the stormwater study.
And then it's be based on those two sections that we saw.
Correct.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Can we have, take a roll call vote? I'll start over here now.
Yes,
Misty?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
And I will say aye also.
Do we need to say location?
In location, it will be, yes, and the time is, do we need a 5-minute break?
I'm going to take one.
Okay, so we'll close and return here at 7:25, and it will be in this location, 114 Mill Street at Village Church. Yeah.